that is quite something. Now tell me, what should I look out for as an employer?
An employer is looking for a person of integrity, but they also want people with some level of enthusiasm for their job. I don't mean being an extrovert. What I mean is that this is what you are born to do. This is what you've given yourself to do. I don't have to supervise you. Supervise yourself. Employers will go through interviews so diligently because they're trying to match what is on the CV, what is in front of them. And that is a crisis. If the employers can see MBA, PhD, but they can't see the output, that's not what they're looking for. They're actually looking for somebody who can work, who can give of themselves, who can add value, who can create wealth. An entrepreneurial officer who is diligent on their work, I would not be so concerned about if they did other things so long as they did my work. If they are doing a second job, they have an enterprise which they do on the weekends, but they're here on Monday, they get my productivity, I'm happy. What I'll try to do is try to interview them and how do I get that extra energy that you use over the weekend? I'm very keen to find out, how can you work? Are you willing to work? Can you manage yourself? Do you understand what this job is about? When you come onto a job, you understand maybe 30-40% of it. But are you willing to learn? Are you willing to grow, to use your skills, to deploy yourself, to produce value? Most of us in Africa are very familiar with farm. You hire this gentleman to till this acre and I'll pay you in the evening. You come at the end of the day and you find that it's half done. You haven't finished. And then he says, this thing was hard. This is very hard work. In Kiswahili, we say, hii ni kazi ngumu sana. Mtu huwezi kufanya hivyo, lakini nilipe pesa yangu yote. Pay me. But you have not done the work. I'll pay you for what you've done, but I won't pay you for the day. The day was yours. You chose to use it that way.
Yeah. Okay. When you say that the purpose of education is enterprise, what do you mean?
Education is supposed to equip you to learn how to learn. And so when you are learning, it's equipping you for enterprise. And enterprise is about learning and doing. I'll use the term employment because now I think you appreciate that I use those two terms interchangeably. Employment and enterprise. If you can't understand the enterprise of a thing, then you haven't learned. Don't get qualifications for the sake of qualifications. Those qualifications need to translate into productivity. This one we didn't learn in college. That means you didn't learn. 2 years diploma in IT. And then at the interview, please switch on this computer and access this file. Boss, where's the on button for this? You haven't learned.
Yeah.
You are not equipped for enterprise. Take personal responsibility for your own education to the extent that it helps you conduct enterprise.
We are looking at now, I want you to talk to that person who has been in employment for years, maybe 10 years, over 10 years, or even 5 years. And, they lost their job for whatever reason, maybe pandemic or whatever, any other reason. They are juggling between business now and looking for other jobs. I worked, but there's nothing to look back to. Talk to that.
I think it's time to take stock, and there's no shame in that. And the earlier you do it, the better. So don't wait until you get to your 20th. Every 5 years, I have to look at what is my net achievement in these 5 years, and then plan for the next 5. What am I going to do to change my situation? And if it's either employment or enterprise. For some people, enterprise is a result of failure to get a job. And so they will abandon enterprise as soon as they get a job. What resources, what skills do I have? What competencies are needed within the market? Where can I sell them? And so on. But in life, you only have 2 options. You're either employed by someone else or employ yourself. Let's get that planning done first. You may also need to learn new skills. Look at your employability. Look at the opportunities. And maybe you may need a change in career. For example, you are in banking and the banks have shrunk. With that, you develop an investment plan. What are the big things that need to be taken care of before they become a crisis? Apply yourself to the extent that there's no money too little. If you are faithful in that little, in enterprise, you don't get jobs every day. But when the jobs come, they meet a plan. 30% is invested, another 30% is going to create new value at home. Don't buy the car if you don't own the house.
Don't buy the car if you don't own the house. I think that's an independent lesson